All right, Virgo, beautiful. It's beautiful. This is the Ace of Swords meets the Empress and the Sun. So, from a vampire reason, listen to advice, think clearly, and intellect, and then new life from wisdom of the oracle. Reason is talking about needing to think clearly through the details of dilemmas and issues and problems, needing to listen to good advice, things like that. But if we're talking about, new fresh ideas here with new life, definitely you have an ability to bring all of those ideas into life. But I think that a lot of this is more so about you working through an issue in your life and thinking a little bit more clearly about it, and it's bringing about better things for you. So new life. It says that this is one of those times in your life when new ideas inspire you and new opportunities bring you hope for seeing your dreams come true. All is well in your world and you have the energy you need to feel renewed. Allow your heart to fill with enthusiasm. Let your light shine, for this is a time of good fortune, which is great. So things start to look up for you as soon as you start to think a little bit more clearly about difficulties, right? And that's basically it. All right, Virgo. Here's your overall. The Seven of Pentacles. It's going to be one of those weeks, I'm telling you. So Leo had this as their best path to follow. And like I said before, what I find interesting with this one is it poses the question, how is reality stacking up to your expectations? So reevaluating, looking at what you have to show for everything that you've done in a situation, and, looking at whether or not you're seeing the growth that you want to see, right? And the Seven of Pentacles can be suggesting that you're going to have to reevaluate some things that you have to show for in your life right now, and look at whether or not you need to continue doing things the way that you have been, or is it time to change things here, right? But we'll see. Now in the past, the Four of Swords. So taking a break. And for some of you, very simply, just between the two, some of you may have taken a break from a person or situation here. But now you're going to have to look at it, and think a little bit more clearly about, what you actually have to show for what you have done, involving, like I said, a person or a situation here. There may be the cutoff in communication with the Four Swords, right? It's not that a situation is over, but in order for you to recover, it's like you need to just step out for a minute, step away, right? Reflect on things. Oh boy, in the present, the moon. Talking about reality, with the moon being there right now, there isn't a whole lot of clarity on that. And we'll see about this. And you could just be like confused. And maybe, you need to take more of a time out here before you even think about, getting back on the horse, so to speak, here with the Seven of Pentacles being the overall. Because it's like, needing to get back to doing something here, even though you may not have seen the results that you wanted. Because I always feel like that with the Seven of Pentacles. I mean, even when you look at it with the Smith images, with Rider or Waite, right? It's like contemplating it, but, are they happy about it though? But you need to get back up here. But with the moon, something isn't quite right. This is seeing things from a distorted perspective, if I could talk right, for Christ's sakes. Not seeing things accurately, needing to pay attention to your instincts. Somebody may be confusing you in regards to a situation here. And some of you may not understand why you're needing to take a look back at it. It may be something that, you have probably decided in the past that you just weren't going to get involved with again, because you were pushed to the point where you needed to take a time out to recover, right? But we'll see. Okay. All right. Future conditions, the Knight of Cups. I like him, but I don't. And now I can understand why the moon is there. But how do you make a situation grow with somebody who is, kind of in and out with their emotions, fickle emotions, right? And I don't necessarily feel like this is you. Some of you definitely have, an offer coming through, whether it's through a person or if it's about work here. But I think it's something that you've already been through. You've already seen this. You've already dealt with this, whatever we're talking about here, work or a relationship. Because the Four of Swords to me is like, yeah, you know, there was a timeout, but it may be because of the other person, but you may not really be understanding how you feel about, you know, what's being offered to you. But then I also think that some of you, you know, the reason why we're looking at the Seven of Pentacles is because in future conditions, you may just kind of be like going along with what your heart is telling you right now, right? Because that is the Knight of Cups. You know, he wears this heart on his sleeve. He, she, whatever, you know, goes wherever those emotions are leading them, right? But are you being led astray though? You know, your best path to follow the Six of Swords. So immediately here with the Seven of Pentacles being there, you may not have seen what you wanted in the past regarding this situation. There may have been a break. But looking at the Six of Swords as your advice, before you can even think about how things are going to go in the future here based on what you already know, you're going to have to move away from whatever kind of conflict is surrounding it, right? That is the Six of Swords. You know, needing to move on from difficulties, specifically involving the past because of the swords here. You know, whatever conflict is surrounding this situation that may have prevented things from going in the right direction or growing the way that you wanted it to, right? But it's like, I think your heart is pulling you here. But I do think it's because of something that's being presented or offered to you. But there may still be some things that have not been worked out. And I don't think that it's, you know, you need to just move on from it. I think that it's like needing to clear the air, you know, especially if there was like no communication as to why things didn't go in the right direction. You know, with the Four of Swords being the past coming through. Wow, Virgo, the hell? Oh, buddy. All right. In your environment, the Three of Swords. So, you know, this is to me, especially looking at your advice in the overall, needing to get past heartbreak that you may not have understood. But that's not your fault, though. And that's what I'm getting from this. Because of the Four of Swords being the past, you may have said, you know what, I'm done with this. But there may still be a lot of mixed emotions surrounding this situation, but it may be because of this person, though. Because I still see this as this coming towards you, but the feeling around it is you following your heart, but being afraid of being led on. You know, not understanding why things ended up in a difficult way. Like, you know, having this heartbreaking situation involving, you know, like I said, a person here. I feel like it has to do with a person that you are involved with. I don't think things actually ended. I don't think that this is just somebody randomly coming back from the past. I think it's somebody that you already have a connection to. But there's not a whole lot of understanding, you know, when it comes to why you're feeling the way that you are. Especially if what you've experienced is heartbreak, right? Damn, man. Oh, I'm telling you, your hopes and your fears, the Ace of Cups. Yeah, your heart is leading you right now because the hope there is that there's going to be a renewal in emotions, a renewal in love, possibly, especially with the Knight of Cups, right? You're hoping that that opportunity is still very much there. But you may not understand why, especially if you're dealing with somebody who has broken your heart, you know. But the Ace of Cups being there is a good indicator that, you know, as long as you're thinking clearly about things again, right, like going back to reason here, this is a good indicator that, you know, things will go in the right direction, right? New life being breathed into a situation that was really difficult. But I'm still feeling like for you, you need communication, you need understanding, you need them to open up and talk to you first, you know, about what you may have experienced, right? And what you may still be dealing with or trying to get over, you know, but it's not that you can just get over it. You need to understand it, you know, but you also need to be open to thinking, you know, reasonably about what may have happened. Damn, man. Wow. Oh, coming out the Page of Cups. You know, I'm going to take a guess here, and you guys know how I am. Like, I usually don't point out specific signs because as far as I'm concerned, that could be anywhere in somebody's chart. But I'm going to guess that some of you are probably dealing with a water sign here. You know, I mean, you do have Pisces, but, right, the moon rules Cancer, and some people see this as Scorpio, so yeah. Holy crap. The Page of Cups coming out. This is the communication of new emotions. So, you know, I'm looking at it, especially with where you start and where you come out, that, you know, maybe some of you didn't have realistic expectations. And it's funny because that seems to be the big thing coming up. Oh my goodness. But the Page of Cups, you know, what I worry about here is because we're looking at the Knight of Cups and the Page. This is younger energy, younger minded mentality, right? We're not looking at wisdom of emotions or emotional availability, you know. You know, I see the Queen of Cups as somebody being a little bit gullible sometimes, but with both of these as your future, it doesn't have to be a bad thing. But with the Seven of Pentacles, I feel like you need to just kind of calm your emotions down. You may be feeling a lot of new things, or a lot of things may be being communicated to you in a new way by somebody else. But just, you know, be careful, right? And it's not that anything bad is going to happen here. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's going to be one of those weeks. All right, Virgo, like I said with the Three of Wands, I think that you were still waiting to see, waiting for this person to kind of come back and say something to you, communicate to you. In the present moment, you may not be understanding that because you may have been really heartbroken over some things that may be involving other people. This is, for me, with the moon being there, what I like to refer to, as a lot of you have probably heard before, the cackling hen syndrome. Too many mouths, right? Now, with the Three of Cups, this could definitely be because of another person who is instigating some issues, and that may be why you were needing to take a step back. You know, it could be because there was another person that got involved, you know, with the person that you're dealing with here. But the thing is one of the things that I talk about when the Three of Cups shows up, especially if we're talking about relationships here, the fact that it's not a court card says to me that this person is not significant enough to cause any problems, and they shouldn't be given that kind of attention, right? Now, you know, the good side of it here would be that we're talking about, you know, reunion, a connection here, support. But given the fact that we're looking at the moon and the Three of Swords, I think it's because of outside people, outside factors. You know, and that is what needs to kind of be talked about, cleared up. I don't necessarily feel like cheating, or, you know, I would need more. I would need more to indicate that. Now, for some of you, yeah, that could be the case. The Four of Cups coming out. You know, what I love about this, though, is that, you know, you can't fool a Virgo. Your heart may be pulling you and leading you, but at the same time, you're like, it's not good enough. It needs to be better. That's what I feel like. Because if you are disinterested in going, meh, right? It may be because you've heard this before, you know? And I still feel like coming out of this that, you know, if you're dealing with a person here that you're not exactly done with, but you've had difficulties with, I think that they need to speak up and clear out some issues. You know, they need to tell you something. They need to say something about what may have happened to cause all this, right? Woo, damn, man. But, you know, I go back to new life and think that there is an opportunity here, especially with the Ace of Cups. But there needs to be, you know, some serious communication. And then not only that, but can you move on from that? Can you move into a calmer emotional state? But I don't think that you're being fooled, though, coming out. Which for me is like, whew, okay, you're not being led on. You know, a person may try, but they sure the hell aren't pulling it off, I think is the best way to put it. An inner voice, needing to pay attention to your inner voice. And yeah, I think that you are. You know, and again, right, thinking clearly about the situation. So love, you know, this is, like I always talk about when it comes to love, one of the highest emotions that you can send out, right? It's the highest vibration that you can send out. If you're coming from a place of love, then you will be able to set clearer intentions But I also feel like if we're talking about love here, we need to know what the intentions are, but you also need to pay attention to your inner voice before accepting anything or being open to anything. And then rainbow blessings. Blessings are showering your life. So if you are willing to, you know, go the distance, so to speak, here, there's no reason why these blessings won't come into your life, right? You may not see them right now, but, you know, needing to move on to a different place, right? Letting go of the past, I also feel like here. But I do like that you're looking at blessings coming through, you know, and it's not that you need to go to a faraway place here. It's just that, you know, you need to take a look at, you know, where you're at right now and look at the new horizons that are possible, you know, especially if there are blessings that may be coming to you through that. Not bad, Virgo. But damn, man, you guys got me like all up in the air on this. You guys are going to have to let me know